7 on the agenda is public forum. So we do have some policies around public forum that I would like to read before we get started. So we encourage members of the public to come up and speak on any item that is not on our agenda. A citizen will be permitted to present your comments or questions to the school committee during this time. It should be noted that the right or privilege of free speech is not absolute at all times and under all circumstances. This is part of our public forum policy. The exercise of a citizen's right carries with it commensurate responsibility. Each citizen who makes a public statement has a responsibility to be accurate, present facts, and not gossip or rumors, present information based upon personal knowledge, not hearsay, be considerate, and allow others to speak without interruption. So again, you could come forward if you'd like to speak about items that are not on the agenda. I believe that there's a number of folks that signed up for public comment this evening regarding things like Title IX policies, transparency. So if you would like to speak on specific items, I just want to make sure that you're coming up at the right time during the agenda. So if you have a general comment on any of those topics, you can come up and speak during public forum. If you have a question as to the agenda item as written on our agenda, then I advise you to hold your question until we get to that actual agenda item. So if you have a general comment on a topic, you're welcome to come up at this time. I hope that I've clarified that for everyone. So we have a number of people that are signed up for public comment, well over 10. So I'm going to ask you to keep your comments to under 4 minutes, and we will keep time on that. I'll give you as much latitude as possible, but we have a lot of wood to chop tonight because we have a budget discussion and we have a number of other items on the agenda. So with that being said, Jake Blanchette is down first. Jake? Welcome.
Can everyone hear me?
Not really. Come right up. Thank you.
How about now?
Better.
Okay. Members of the committee and Madam Chairperson, my name is Jake Blanchette, a Chariho alumnus of the class of 2007. I am also one of the original founding members of the Gay Straight Alliance. I have lived in Connecticut for the last 9 years, but I still have ties to Chariho and still care that current students are treated with dignity and respect, a phrase every morning announcement ended with while I was here. You yourself, Madam Chairperson, said when you took the position that you keep 3 sticky notes with you at meetings: kindness, respect, and students. While this public comment session is taking place before hearing what this body's intentions are with policies such as Title IX anti-harassment and inclusion protections and the school's current policies for gender non-conforming and transgender students, I want to make it abundantly clear where I, a proud member of the LGBTQ+ community and many other people in this community stand on this. While we have not heard what the plans of this committee are yet, with the chairperson and other members of this committee signing on to the Moms for Liberty pledge, we can assume they aren't for the betterment of those they who protect now. The Moms for Liberty political group has worked to ban books, censor curriculum that covers LGBTQ+, critical race theory, and women's rights nationwide. Madam Chairperson and members of this committee who have also signed this pledge, I speak directly to you now. In March 4th Health and Wellness Subcommittee meeting, the goals were to expand community and school resources to support mental health. As a side note, LGBTQ+ youth are 4 times more likely to commit suicide. Taking away protections for those who need it does not align with those goals. Taking away protections for those who need it is not kind, it is not respectful, and it is not in the best interest of all students. You said their safety and well-being. Thank you. employees. You said their safety and well-being are at the forefront of everything you do. Take this opportunity to stay true to that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chariho class of 1971, well over 50 years ago. I will say that we all have to work together regardless of our politics, but the reason I spoke is the fact that we have on the federal level and the state level things that impact education, and specifically around the state constitution, Article 12, Section 1, specifically charges the General Assembly to promote education. We can always debate how effective they are doing that. What I asked the school committee is to maybe coordinate or better inform the public and the town councils of what legislation the school committee supports and to what the community at large. Obviously, we're not going to agree on all bills and legislation, but there are a lot of bills in the legislature, you don't know about them, and then they suddenly have a hearing the next day, and I don't know how effective your email list is, but it's very important to keep people on top of legislation. Speaking on the federal level, the United States Constitution gives no role for the federal government in education. That seems to be missed by a lot of people. What I'd be curious about is what's going on at the federal level, whether those, I know some people want to abolish the federal Department of Education. A lot of people disagree with that, certainly, but whatever. I would appreciate maybe some little more coordination or the people that sign up to know any legislation or any judicial act the public should know. And that's pretty nonpartisan or bipartisan. Because in politics, sometimes you agree on one issue, another issue, you can disagree, agree, all over the place. It's a different set. So it's very important to work together, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Spencer, is it Baton? Spencer? Come on. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Spencer.
Welcome.
Coach.
Take your time.
I'm a 31-year-old transgender resident of Richmond and former Chariho student. When I was a student here, I didn't understand yet that I was transgender. I just knew I'd be myself, being a target. I didn't have the words for what I was going through, but I knew what it felt like to be different. I'm here tonight because this committee might consider weakening Title IX, the non-discrimination and anti-harassment policy. Groups like Moms for Liberty are targeting these protections under the guise of protecting students. But who is truly being protected? Because it's really the students who need these policies the most. At 12 years old, I was finally allowed to cut my hair short and dress how I felt comfortable. That moment of happiness was short-lived. The whispers of stares in the locker room turned into relentless harassment in the hallways. I was questioned about which bathroom I was using, and eventually I stopped using it entirely, dehydrating myself every day to avoid confrontation. I skipped lunch to escape the cafeteria. School became a place I dreaded. One day in 8th grade, I couldn't take it anymore, so I ran. I left the school building, made it into the woods, and called my mom. Hey Mom, I ran away from the school, can you come get me? A turf farm worker spotted me, the police were called, and soon my disabled mother and I, actually I'm gonna leave this part out. I don't remember what happened next, I was probably suspended, thank God. I developed severe migraines, with so much school, I ended up in Trinity Court and ultimately transferred to the Met Providence Fine School. Even in a more supportive environment, my past haunted me. My anxiety and panic attacks worsened, and I eventually dropped out. I got my GED, but even as an adult, the trauma I experienced in this district has made holding a job difficult. Writing the speech brought back anxiety I hadn't felt in years. But is it worth speaking out? Absolutely. Who are these protections hurting? No one. But if you take them away, or consider to take them away, kids like me will suffer. What if your child is like me? Maybe they don't know it yet. Maybe they're watching you, wondering if their school is a safe place to be themselves. At the very least, tonight has given me closure I didn't know I needed for 17 years. I just hope sharing my story helps prevent another student from going through what I did. Before I go, I'm not sure if one of these teachers is here. I want to acknowledge the bright spots in my time here as a student, Mr. McGinn and Ms. Thompson. They were the kindest people and gave me something to look forward to when I had so little of that. Their kindness mattered, and it still does. Thank you.
Everybody's comments are very important. I just realized that we have 3 pages of people who signed up, and we want to listen to all of you and your feedback. With that being said, I did not realize that there were 3 pages of public comment. So I'm going to ask you to be succinct as much as possible, and I think that we're going to have to unfortunately limit public comment to 2 minutes. So I'm going to ask you to please be succinct. And I'm going to call the next person, and that is Representative Cobb.
Thank you, members of the committee, Chairwoman. This committee is going to do what they want to do. So this message is for children like Spencer, to all the trans, non-binary kids, kids who feel different, kids who are bullied, kids who eat lunch alone, that are watching this at home right now. You are seen, you are valued, and you are not alone. No policy can erase who you are or take away your right to exist as your true, authentic self. No matter what happens in this room tonight, there are so many of us that love you, see you, and are fighting for you. Standing for you and making sure you have a future where you are safe, respected, and free to be who you are. Keep being you. We have your back. Thank you.
And then Janine Harrington, and then Jackie Toro. So the next 3 folks, if you can come forward.
So thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
And the school committee. I'm going to change the subject, not because I do not support everything that's been said, but because I think this is something that we need to hear. The first meeting of the new school committee was on December 17th, and it resulted in 4 complaints of violation of the Open Meetings Act. The adjudication of these claims came out recently, and I know the community has not heard the results, and many of you probably have, but I doubt that you read through all 7 pages of the response and got to the end. So that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. I think it would be instructive to read directly from the Attorney General's response, just in little pieces that are at the very end. As a retired teacher, I never miss an opportunity to teach a lesson, so bear with me. I doubt that readers got to that page 7, and that's what spurred me to do this tonight. I made the OMA complaint, or I and the other 4 people, or the 3 people who also complained, accused the committee members of collaboration in a quorum outside the meeting because there was so little discussion between voting members during the meeting itself. The Attorney General's response states, and I quote, "Based on the record, in these particular circumstances, we do not find sufficient evidence that a quorum of the committee engaged in collective discussion or took action outside the public purview." And if I were you and I read that, I would stop, because you won. But as such, we find no violation of the MOA or the OMA. We are nevertheless concerned by suggestions that at least some members communicated with each other non-publicly about matters pending before the committee. Pay attention. Even if communications among less than a quorum do not violate the OMA, it can still degrade public confidence in the political process and detract from transparency. The OMA finding continues. We're also concerned about the divisiveness exhibited by these matters, evidenced most obviously by the bifurcated manner in which the committee responded to these complaints and how quickly these complaints came about following a change in the committee's membership. The latter part of that sentence means the committee changed members and then stopped talking about what they were trying to do publicly. But what does the Attorney General mean by the bifurcated manner in which the committee responded? He means that Hopkins, Teft, Phelps, Pouliot, Champlin, Chapman, and Colasanti were represented by one attorney, not by the Chariho lawyer. These are the 7 who also voted in bloc on December 17th. So it would seem that while they weren't found to have conducted any willful or knowing violation of the OMA, they were and are comfortable working together to find outside legal help. End of quote. And finally, the Attorney General finishes with, "We remind the committee of the universal underlying policy of the OMA, which is to ensure that the public good is served and that citizens be advised of and aware of the performance of public officials and the deliberations and decisions that go into the making of public policy. It is worth noting that violations of the Open Meetings Act can include fines up to $5,000 and also cause actions to be rescinded."
Thank you, Al. We appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Janine Harrington, Jackie Toro, and then Chris Coda. Go ahead, Janine.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Janine Harrington. I'm a lifelong Chariho resident, taxpayer, and parent with a teen currently in high school. I am here to speak regarding Member Hopkins' request to review the policies relating to transgender and gender non-conforming students. Any changes made to these policies will impact only a handful of students in a very detrimental way, which is discrimination in its most basic form. The Chariho School Committee is charged with fostering an educational environment that is safe and free from discrimination for all students, regardless of sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, the stigmatization of and improve the educational integration of transgender and gender non-conforming students. This is the committee's duty, regardless of personal political affiliations or agendas or personal ideology or opinion. Policy review policy review is unnecessary as there have never been any recorded instances of issues caused by TGNC children at Chariho. There is no evidence to suggest there ever will be. However, there is an abundance of evidence that these policies need to stay intact. 42% of TGNC youth report frequently being called names at school or being excluded. 64% encounter bullying, and over half report that they do not participate in activities out of fear of discrimination. Approximately 1 in 4 TGNC youth experience some form of sexual assault in restrooms at schools where restroom and locker room use is restricted compared to those without restrictions. States that passed anti-transgender laws aimed at minors saw suicide attempts increase by 72%. Dangerous restrictions, being bullied by peers as well as adults, and being singled out by school districts contributes to this percentage. According to the NIH, gender identity acceptance was associated with lower odds of past year suicide attempts.
Janine,
A wise,
20 seconds.
I have 20, it's 2 minutes long. A wise person once said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That is acceptance. I encourage each of you to get to know a gender nonconforming person, let them educate you. This is their own personal journey, not one that's up for public debate. I urge this committee to tread lightly and act intentionally. What you do next could very deeply impact those you are charged to protect. Gender non-conforming people have always been with us. They will not be erased. To those listening tonight, we see you, and trans rights are human rights. Thank you.
Hopkinton. Polly Hopkins called for multiple policies to be reviewed, including protections for LGBTQ students, Title IX, and library materials. The intent behind these requests is deeply concerning. Hopkins' own social media posts leave no doubt about her priorities. She publicly declared that her goal is to bankrupt these schools and sees no good reason to support these indoctrination studies with my tax dollars. This is not the language of someone who believes in strengthening public education. It's the language of someone actively working to dismantle it. The school committee has already proven it cannot be trusted to prioritize transparency or fair representation. At the February 25th budget workshop, where the committee voted to close Hope Valley School, Hopkins was noticeably absent, leaving the families and students most affected without full representation. This is the same committee that stalled electing a chairperson because an unelected appointee hadn't been sworn in. It had no problem closing the town's elementary school, while 2 of Hopkinton's 4 representatives were absent. Across the country, we are seeing coordinated efforts to strip away rights, erase marginalized communities, and undermine public education. The Federal Department of Education is already being reshaped by people who oppose equity and inclusion. When these attacks reach the local level, they often come disguised as policy reviews or parental rights initiatives. But make no mistake, their goal is control. Let's be clear, attacks on LGBTQIA+ students, especially transgender and non-binary students, are not just about them. They're about controlling society. They are a deliberate effort to force people into rigid, oppressive gender roles and erase those who do not conform. This is about power, restriction, and pushing an agenda that has no place in the school system meant to serve all students. This should alarm every parent, especially those of LGBTQIA+ students and students with disabilities. If policies that protect the most vulnerable are weakened or removed, what comes next? Who will be the next target? Schools should be places of safety, learning, and opportunity, not battlegrounds for political agendas that seek to erase and exclude. We will not stand by while you roll back progress that ensures every student is valued and protected.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Of course.
I'm Chris Mona, a Richmond resident and a Chariho parent. We've all heard these words: we the people of the United States, and work for a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty of ourselves and our posterity. you ordained and established this Constitution of the United States of America. There's a lot being conveyed in those few words. It starts with we the people, not we the rulers or we the billionaires. There's no exclusion in we the people. It's emphasized when they say, in order to form a more perfect union, it's about bringing different groups together. It says to establish justice, create a system where people are treated fairly, and if they're not, there's a recourse to correct it. To ensure domestic tranquility means to create a system where we know that the planes will land on time, where the food and water is safe to eat, and to live without fear. To promote the general welfare means the Constitution is intended to make sure everyone is supported. And to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves, that we the people can take advantage of a free society. And then the authors of the U.S. Constitution added to secure the blessings for our posterity. They knew that it was not just enough for them to enjoy the blessings of liberty. They need to make sure that their kids would live in a just and tranquil society where the government promoted general welfare and secured the blessings of liberty onto their children. And that starts in our public schools. Public schools are how we provide justice, domestic tranquility, general welfare, and the blessings of liberty to our posterity. We do that by giving them, all of the students that are covered by we the people, a place where students can learn, can eat, can read, can be safe, and can grow up to be smarter, stronger, and more successful with each generation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll be very, very brief. I had a lot to say, but I know that the window is small. I know we're not allowed to talk about policy, so I won't, but I just wanted to state I had reached out to Ms. Hopkins about a month ago once I knew that the policies were being pulled up for review, and I inquired as to why they were being pulled and what were the new and exciting, maybe there were some solutions, maybe there were some great ideas. She finally got back to me and said that, I believe I quote, some people had some issues with some of the policies. But I really want to engage with the school committee. I'm dying to be involved. So this may not be the proper forum, and if it's not, I'll contact you immediately via email and expect a response back. But I'm just inquiring, who do I contact? Who are the committee members that felt the need that these policies that are listed tonight needed to be reviewed? Am I allowed to ask that, or should I do that in an email? Because if I do it in an email, I want actual response.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just in the interest of I want to begin the dialogue, because let's be realistic, we know why these are being pulled. I would like to be a part of it. I know there's a subcommittee, I know there's a school improvement team, I'll be at both of those, but I'd like to try to get out in front of it and begin engaging committee members, because, transparency and accountability.
Of course. So our legal counsel is here, John Anderson. Typically, he advises us not to engage in a dialogue during public forum, because there's rules around that.
I understand.
And I would like Attorney Anderson to opine on that, please.
Can everybody hear me? My general advice to school committees is that this is the time in the meeting for you to listen to the public as opposed to speak. I want to make it very clear that you have First Amendment rights as well. If you wish to speak, you may. But I really want to encourage you that this is your time to listen.
Thank you. So Justin, I'm sure if you email any one of us, we are as transparent as we could be, and we would be happy to respond to your question at the appropriate time. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
I understand.
We literally have 3 pages of people who want to speak.
Understood.
Your opinion is important. We have budget also tonight.
And thank you for the work on the budget. I know that's...
Yes, sir.
So thank you. I'll be emailing all of you, and please, if you could respectfully get back to me as soon as possible with that you were interested in that, so I can begin the dialogue.
Thank you. Are you here, Chris?
We can wait till the...
Are you sure? Okay, thank you, Chris. Christina Holden Sherry, Jordan Sereno. I'm sorry, Jordan, I can't pronounce your hyphenated last name.
I've heard it before.
I'm sorry. And then Jonathan Hart. So we have Christina, Jordan, and then Jonathan. Please come forward. You have 2 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to make this as concise as possible. I am here about policy surrounding gender, non-conforming, and transgender students and the protections of Title IX. And I'm going to just try to run through this fast. It's called Secrets and Fear. This is how I grew up. We're a family that kept secrets. In our family growing up, we even kept secrets from family members. And I'm going to jump to the chase. My dad was transgender. We called it transsexual back then, okay? And they separated. So we lived with this fear of what people thought in the neighborhood because they didn't know. So we were kind of like, we didn't say things. We were very evasive about this because we were afraid. And the most afraid person was my mother. She didn't know this when she married him in 1954. But 4 kids later, and a Catholic priest telling her all these thoughts in his head will go away, it didn't happen because it doesn't. You can't brainwash these people into being something they're not. Barbara when I was 15. And actually, you know, I was quite intrigued by the whole thing because Phil Donahue had devoted a show to it and everybody was, it became water cooler talk, which sent my mother spiraling down a rabbit hole of anxiety, depression, panic attacks, agoraphobia. She basically became a benzodiazepine addict. And those drugs basically ate her brain. 2019, she died of Alzheimer's. Now, I took care of Barbara throughout her ailing years, too. We lost her in 2021. Fear and losing protections kills. Kids are killing themselves. We find out the leading cause of death of transgender women is murder. Which brings me to my next point. When we closed the lid on Barbara, also my dad, my daughter announced a few months later that her husband is now her wife. She's transgender. They're stationed in England, in the Air Force. My now daughter-in-law is about to be drummed out of the military, just 6 months short of her retirement of 20 years and 3 deployments, serving her country, and there she's on edge about, I know this has nothing to do with this school right now, but you know, about losing everything. And this is why my blood boils when someone wants to remove protections. I was so impressed when my kids became high school students and there was a GSRI here. I was like, oh my goodness, with a gay brother and also 2 more transsexual cousins. It seems to be a thing on my dad's side of the family. You know, it's like, it's okay with me. It's, you know, and this is the thing. It's like people, attitudes who don't know, and like the lady said before me, get to know somebody who is LGBTQ+. Get to know these people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, Committee. My name is Jordan Serino Siniscalchi.
Say that one more time.
Serino Siniscalchi. You get very good at spelling. It's okay. I'm a 30-year-long Chariho resident. My entire academic career was spent in the Chariho school system, from Hope Valley Elementary to the middle and high school campus we're on now. My mother worked here for years, both as a teacher's aide and as director of the high school trauma club. I also had the fortune of working at summer camps in Charlestown for a decade and was lucky enough to help cultivate further generations of smart, creative, and compassionate Chariho kids. It is this local, first-hand experience of this school system that brings me here today, because the Chariho I grew up in, one of tolerance and compassion, is being threatened by those who believe that our school policies of censorship, discrimination, and civil liberties are all rules that can be adjusted, and not a codified right of every American. The Chariho, I know, has one of the best education programs in the entire state with some of the best and most qualified teachers. They provide an array of resources to teach children not only real-world skills, but the capacity to learn, think, and grow. Superintendent Barry Ritchie, may he rest in peace. I love y'all, but I gotta make sure I get through all of this. Made it a point to let students know that they were welcome, regardless of race, regardless of religious practice, regardless of gender identity, regardless of which stupid bathroom they wanted to use. From the foundation up, high school principal Bob Mitchell reminded us every day to treat one another with what? Dignity and respect. I was lucky enough to learn about all the things that made America incredible. Our culture, our music, our sports, our heroes of democracy, our triumphs in science and human perseverance. I also learned about history, about cultures from every corner of the world, the history of every major religion, and the global impact we as humans have on our planet. I was also fortunate to learn about the darker side of our country and of the world. Slavery, the civil rights movement, the Holocaust, the Trail of Tears, Japanese internment camps. While it stung, and to this day constantly gives me dilemmas to reflect upon, it was necessary to learn. For perspective, for understanding why these things happened, and for preventing them from ever happening again. Banned books were a required part of our curriculum because the school committee knew that banning books was an integral step towards fascism and the actions of someone not looking to protect students but to control them. The policies being challenged today are sacred. They are instrumental to the preservation of our students and indeed our residents' freedom. I say, in honor of the teachers who shaped us, in honor of the community who supports us, and in honor of the legacy of Barry Ritchie, if your intention is to undermine the rights and safety of our students, you're going to have to get through all of us. Thank you.
Kristen Chambers. So please come forward. Jonathan, please. Jonathan, please.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Hart. I stand here tonight as a concerned citizen. I'm concerned for the state of our society and what's well for the youth. I prepared this to speak tonight because I heard there were folks who want to censor material related to LGBTQ issues. Yes, this is a concern of mine, but it goes far beyond that. It's about giving youth the vocabulary and knowledge to understand themselves and the world around them, while to protect themselves. When I was a teenager, I was groomed and manipulated. I thought because I wasn't assaulted that I wasn't abused, but because of that, I was unaware of how it affected me mentally. It wasn't until recently that I realized the severity of the effects of those events. I was reading a book by a therapist by the name of Faith G. Harper. As she delved into the lasting effects of trauma, I realized that it applied to me. Once I was able to say I was abused, everything became so clear, and it helped to have the tools to recognize that. The books written by this author and similar ones aren't meant for children, so I'm not suggesting books of this nature be shared in these schools. But there are books with materials meant specifically for younger audiences, particularly those ones with the onset of puberty, who will need help during this transition. So you might be asking, why am I bringing up these topics? What's going to do with LGBT issues? Well, the book I was reading and books meant for middle schoolers may not be centered on LGBT topics, but are at the very least friendly to those topics. As a result, if we were to censor any kind of queer material, that would extend to material that would help kids protect themselves against those that would take advantage of them. Even teaching elementary schoolers just lists things like consent and help. And we should allow middle schoolers to learn about puberty and how to care for their changing bodies. And high schoolers should have access to safe sexual education, which is something I never had. If someone had taken the time to teach me about sex and what constitutes abuse, I could have gotten help sooner or avoid the situation I was put in entirely. I now identify as queer, but it took a long time to accept that. While all my friends were going on dates and getting to their first relationships, I was questioning why I felt so weird to act out a girl. Of course, there's no timeline for these things, but being LGBT topics being normalized will save me a lot of trouble. I'm speaking tonight because I don't want any other kid to go through what I went through. I want them to feel comfortable with living their life. The bottom line is sexuality is a bodily function just as much as breathing and eating, and we should be able to give pubescent youth the opportunity to learn about that. And being LGBT isn't a choice, and it's something that doesn't hurt to learn about. As someone who was raised Catholic, I was never told homosexuality was wrong, and transgender issues were never brought up. Folks cite Leviticus as to why homosexuality goes against God, but the point of that book was cleansing the Israelites from what defiled the land they fled from. And Jesus' sacrifice led to the eventual cleanse, so there is no need to judge those who are queer. And we can follow Jesus' golden rule that he holds above all else. Treat those as you would like to be treated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let's be respectful. We're not going to tolerate that, okay?
Madam Chair.
Yes, I'm not tolerating that. Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Robert Cariho, West Philly. Congratulations to all of the district athletic champions this evening who were honored at the beginning of the meeting. I'm here to speak about the girls specifically tonight. A federal judge invalidated the Biden administration's attempted illegal hijacking of Title IX on January 9th. Then, President Trump signed 2 executive orders restoring Title IX to its original intent, which was to protect citizens, especially girls, against discrimination based on sex, not gender identity. These executive orders, which are now federal law,
Let him speak.
Those aren't facts.
Let's be respectful of the speaker. We gave everybody their time.
He's not saying you could not say things that weren't true.
Listen. I'm going to call for a 5-minute recess if we can't get this under control. Okay? Let's be respectful.
Speak the truth. He's not even taking you out of class.
Continue, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These executive orders, which are now federal law,
I'll call for a motion to adjourn. I will. Let's go. Let's relax, okay? Let him speak.
You said no.
Let him speak. Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
We need to pass a budget.
Way too many of us.
Have the police remote them.
I second.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Hey, folks, listen. I know it's not comfortable for some of you. It's not for me. But let the man at least just speak. You can disagree with him all you want. You can follow him out the door and disagree with him. Just let him speak so we can just move on to the business. So we can move on to the business of our kids today. Thank you.
I wouldn't advise that, by the way.
I don't care for your rhetoric, sir.
Yes, sir.
You have the authority to limit the amount of time a person does not abide or refuses to cooperate, you shut the microphone off. Adjourning this meeting at this point in time, giving the public the opportunity to speak, is a disservice to this community and to you. Give them a 2-minute warning. I agree with you that you have to speak the facts, but we're not fact checking. He can have his say whether we agree or disagree, whether it's a law or it isn't. It's not the purview of this meeting, for the purpose. Therefore, conduct this meeting with the admonition, if you speak beyond 2 minutes, shut the microphone off, so everybody has an opportunity to express his or her feelings.
So I'm going to ask for my fellow committeemen and women if they would withdraw their motion to adjourn and their second, please. We have business to discuss tonight. I would like to discuss this business respectfully. We have a lot to do this evening. I understand everybody's point of view. We've given folks the opportunity to speak this evening. And I would like to move forward with this meeting. So I'm going to ask my colleagues if they will withdraw their motion to adjourn and withdraw their second, please.
I am now withdrawing my motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Oh, my second.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to move forward.
You have to withdraw the second, Madam Chair.
We did. Yes, we did, sir. Thank you. Mr. Caradio, will you continue? You have 2 minutes. Everybody else has 2 minutes. And when the alarm goes off, we are going to move on. So please be concise, and we will listen to you respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These executive orders keep biological males out of female sports and private spaces and eliminate the mandated use of pronouns by teachers and staff. You got your letter recently from the Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity, which I won't go into because of time. Instead of heeding the bogus advice of the Attorney General, this committee needs to do 2 things. Change your Title IX policy. Kids confused with their sexual identity will be protected by other means, just not Title IX. People need to understand that. Change your Title IX policy as Westerly, North Kingstown, Barrington, and others have done to President Trump's 2020 ruling, which protects all people against discrimination based on sex, not gender identity. That's Title IX. Exactly the way it was intended in 1972. Protect our girls. You need to dump the ride trans guidance policy, which also violates federal law, and toss the Rona's letter in the trash. You cannot continue to place our girls in unsafe, uncomfortable, and unlawful situations. In spite of urgings from myself and others over the last few years, I'm wrapping up, you continued to sexualize Chariho's kids. You continue to place Chariho's girls in unsafe, unlawful, and unfair situations, all because of some sick agenda and the gutless lack of courage by the leadership of this district.
You're sick and you're sexualizing them.
Now, you have no choice. Comply now.
I'm calling for order in this auditorium.
About 2 minutes.
Enough.
Comply now.
And wrap it up.
I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Comply now or face some very unpleasant consequences from the OCR, loss of federal funds, etc. Fascination with gender identity is over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, members of the committee.
Hold on, Lisa. I just want to make sure everybody's paying attention and that they're affording you the respect you deserve.
My name is Lisa Manla. I am a lifelong Hopkinton resident. I'm a Chariho graduate, mom of 3 kids who've gone through the Chariho system. I'm a family physician at Wood River Health and the physician of record for the school district. The Chariho school mission has 2 sentences. The second one is to create a safe and supportive environment where all students are treated with kindness and respect. Anti-trans discrimination, in fact, any discriminatory policy, threatens this mission. Being LGBTQ is not a choice, any more than I had a choice to be born with blue eyes. It is not a choice. We know that trans students are bullied more than their cisgender students. 38% of trans students are bullied in school, and that's just in person. 12% for cisgender students. We know that bullying leads to decreased attendance, decreased academic success, and decreased overall health. I can vouch that in 20 plus years of practicing in this community as a family physician, I have seen directly the effects that this has on students, especially our LGBTQ students. A sense of community and a sense of school connections Respect and understanding helps all students achieve academic and social success. Our current climate of derogatory and discriminatory talk and actions will have a negative effect on all students, not just LGBTQ. It is hard to learn in a negative environment. It is hard to learn when your classmates or yourself are in fear. We as adults need to act as role models. We need to put into practice treating all people with respect, as stated in our mission statement. We need to be the leaders in our community.
Thank you, Lisa. So we have Kristen, Lisa McCabe, and Jim Knapp. Kristen?
Thank you. I'm Kristen Chambers from Richmond. Book banning and censorship is unconstitutional. No one is forcing children to read books that their parents disapprove of. Parents have freedom of choice, and there's a protocol in place if you do not want your child to be exposed to ideas you are uncomfortable with. Please keep your hands off others' freedom of reading choice. Librarians and information specialists, the trained professionals who know their job and know the Chariho Library Media Center policy. I would love to hear student voices on the subject, and I wish the kids had stayed. Allow students of all ages to share their thoughts about adults telling them what they can and cannot read. Let them take inspiration from Mary Beth Tinker from Iowa, who was a 13-year-old junior high school student, back when it was called junior high, not middle school, in December 1965, when she and a group of students decided to wear black armbands to school to protest the war in Vietnam. The school board got wind of the protest and passed a preemptive ban. When Mary Beth arrived at school on December 16th, she was asked to remove the armband. 13-year-old Mary Beth and 4 other students, including her brother John, were suspended. The students and their families filed a First Amendment lawsuit. A 4-year court battle ensued and culminated in the landmark 1969 Supreme Court decision, Tinker versus Des Moines, which holds that students do not shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression. I urge students to follow in Mary Beth Tinker's footsteps and stand up for their civil rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Lisa here?
No.
Okay, we'll move on. Jim Knapp, Elaine Ritchie, Dana Cabral. Can you come forward, please?
No Jim Knapp either.
There's no Jim Knapp? Okay.
No.
Elaine Ritchie, Dana Cabral, Debbie Mealy? Michelli. Okay.
Hi, thank you. My name is Elaine Ritchie. I'm a resident of Charlestown. I also went to school here and graduated in 1995. And I also have a daughter who is a freshman, and she has spent 4 years at the Chariho system. And I can tell you, as a parent of a female athlete, I fear no transgender person. For having the chair committee actively listening, and I want to applaud almost all of you. Thank you so much for paying attention. The one person I thought that would be paying attention to everyone speaking before me is you, Polly Hopkins. And it's very disheartening to see you not paying attention when this is your agenda. I spoke before me about the executive order, and I just want to remind, and it seems like everyone here knows their rights, and I just want to remind the school committee meeting that federal law and state law trumps, that's a funny word, trumps executive orders. We don't have a king, we don't have a dictatorship, and you can laugh, you can respect me, but federal and state laws are Title IX. I read every single policy, and I'm sorry I'm shaking, this is really passionate for me. I read every single policy, and our school has done a great job because every single policy mimics what the Title IX is, and it's federal law, we cannot change those policies. We cannot change it, and there's no bullying that's going to say exactly what is going to take away our funding because you can't do that. It's not only the federal laws, but our state laws. Our state laws, even for minors' consent. That is 16, and for gender, there's no age limit on it. So our policies are correct, and we should stand strong with them. And going forward, we want to go forward for the better. We don't want regrets. And this is an education system, and when they're doctor speaking, we teach our kids about math and education to become a doctor, but our actions show them we don't respect them.
Hi, Dana. Hello. How are you?
Good. Sorry for the slowness.
Take your time.
My name is Dana Cabral. I'm here representing the Rhode Island chapter of PFLAG, which is parents and friends of gay and lesbian people. I myself am a transgender woman. I am a lifelong resident of the state of Rhode Island. Product of the Rhode Island public school system. I served my country for 13 years in the Army.
Thank you for your service.
And I can tell you that being transgender, being gay, or being lesbian is not something somebody chooses. Because it is something that is very hard to be.
Hold the microphone so we can hear you.
I'm sorry. Okay, so it's not an easy thing. I was bullied in middle school, junior high school. I work with kids in the inner city who do not have places to sleep because their parents have thrown them out of their house. I myself tried to kill myself. This is any type, this country, I've never heard of a democracy burning or banning books. I've heard fascist and Nazi country do that. We are not a fascist country. We are not a Nazi country. We are a democracy. And democracy will win out. I ask you folks to protect each and every one of your students because they deserve your respect and your protection. I walk down that long corridor and I seen signs about no bullying, treat people with kindness, and removing protection from your LGBT students is not doing that. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Chariho and Donna Castor. Debbie, thank you. You have 2 minutes. Thank you.
I am Debbie Michelli. I am a Richmond resident. I went to this school. I taught in this district for 38 years. I have hundreds of students that are my family. And my classroom is a place of safety. And this school and this district has always been a place of safety. No child should be afraid to come to school. No academics can ever be accomplished when children are afraid. I celebrate those children who sat here today and played so beautifully. All the children who received recommendations for what they've done. I think that's wonderful. Let's celebrate what they've done, but let's also take into our hearts what we're doing to children when the message you are given is that there is a population in our community that you don't feel is good enough. And the teachers in this district don't feel that way. They are their students, and they will protect them. And they know that what the statistics are for those kids, that many of those children commit suicide, that many of those children self-medicate with alcohol and drugs, that so many of them have lives that are affected by the bullying. Something that we know affects them their whole lives, they carry inside of them. That is not your job here to let this occur. You cannot do anything to take those protections away. Please don't do that, because it will be on you. It really will. Our school is a safe harbor, and that's the way it should remain. Please consider what you're doing, and please get to know some people, because if they ever spoke to you and said how they felt inside, I'm sure you'd realize you'd see them as a person, and how can you deny them the protection that every other child would get?
Good evening.
Welcome.
For your records, my given name is John Clark, Woonsocket resident. I'm addressed as JoJo, they, them pronouns. It's been said, testimony is best personal. I am transgender. Policies and rights come personally. Fortunately, I speak in unison with other voices of our state, like Rhode Island Atheists and the Women Project. Your school board is banded to serve and protect this county, this state, this nation's future generation. You will remember this time by the decisions you make in this service. When you crush words, you crush imagination. When you crush voices, you crush freedom. When you crush representation, you crush expression and identity. And when you crush protection, you're crushing lives. Do not feel threatened of change. Change is growth, and like each flower is unique, each has a name. Respect starts first with a name. Disrespect ends in pain. Protect the whole garden, and don't churn out cookie-cutter GMO of a world. Let's accept our bittersweet history and relish in our diversity instead of seeking better homes and gardens, the Trump edition, telling us what to build. Be the gentle steward of the land and not a monoculture of commercial growth. Garden with your heart, and you will know the difference of what you are asked and what you are called by love to do. In the end, you can look back and know you followed a path of love, not today or tomorrow's manufactured fears. You will rest in past knowing you had not been used to help marginalize certain students like mice, as our president sees us, for future oppression and erasure. Please support the Freedom of Read initiatives, the recognition of diversity, equity, and inclusion, including LGBTQ+ rights in the curriculum and classrooms and your library. Support RIDE's policy for the protection of trans and non-binary students. Help make Rhode Island stand as our namesake, an anchor of hope for all in these turbulent times. Thank you for letting me speak.
Is Lynn Tashiro here?
Yes.
Hello, Lynn. So I have Lynn Tashiro, Donna Castor, Sam Wilcox, and Andrew McCoy. So if you could please make your way forward, thank you. Hello, Lynn.
My name is Lynn Chariho.
Yes, ma'am.
We lived in Richmond since 1969. On my mother's side, she was a Fuller. They came on the Mayflower. On my father's side, he was a Preston, and they came in 1623. I want to tell you that the Chariho School right now does a wonderful job. I'm hoping that you will continue to provide the money and the resources My eldest daughter received her PhD in plant genetics. My younger daughter received her doctorate of pharmacy. Okay? But what I'm really here for is to make sure that you do not block the use of books for any reason. And now I'm going to tell you why. My husband, at 6 years old, was incarcerated in a camp with his entire family because he was of Japanese descent. He was born here in this country, as well as his other siblings. His parents owned a grocery store that they had worked very hard for. They had 2 weeks to pack up everything and leave. And they were put in horse stalls until they were shipped to a camp in the middle of nowhere in Colorado. I want your library to be able to put things and information like that in there. My husband's sister, as well as other women who were incarcerated at the camps, wrote stories called, among other things, From Our Side of the Fence. These young children were put behind barbed wire with armed guards pointing guns at the families. In spite of what the government tried to say, that they were there to protect Japanese Americans, they were not.
Lynn, we're going to give you 20 more seconds.
What's that?
20 more seconds, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The men in the camps were asked if they would volunteer to be in the service. If they said no, they were sent to a real detention center. If they said yes, they got to join the 442nd, which was the most decorated group of veterans in World War II. My father was in World War II, and he told me plain and clear, they used them as fodder. In the Battle of the Bulge, they put them in the most difficult places there was, and they ended up the most decorated. I wonder, and I hope, that you'd be willing to put this book in the library for the children who are. On my father's side, it's been documented that they have fought in every war since the French and Indian War. And in World War II, Roosevelt was afraid they didn't know what they were fighting for. And they were fighting for the essential human freedom, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. And I would ask as you vote that you consider all those things.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, so we have Donna, Samantha, Andrew, McCoy, and Eliza Spears. Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Donna Castor. I'm not comfortable talking in front of people. I actually signed that, thinking it was just a sign-in. But after listening to some of the people and some of the things that they've said, it resonates with me. One of the comments one of the gentlemen made was, these policies, who are they hurting? And I thought about it, I don't think they're hurting anybody. I wish what we knew coming here though, that, because this is long. You guys have been working hard on the budget and everything, long meeting. I wish we knew, what we were here, what we're looking at in these policies. I know about one because it was of interest to me, the photo one, and I reached out and I emailed. So, and then others I can see, maybe, why we're here. So I wish we knew that. I think it was Elaine brought up about her daughter not being uncomfortable playing sports. It made me think about my own children who went here. And same thing, my daughter maybe, she didn't play sports, but never once did she tell me she was uncomfortable. My son, neither one ever uncomfortable. I teach at the high school. I teach an elective. I have seen many, many students in my classroom. They feel very comfortable talking to me about a lot of things. Having a boyfriend problem, they're fighting with their parents, things like that. And I'm now thinking about it, I've never had a student tell me they were uncomfortable in their sport, in the bathroom, anything like that. So I just wanted to, put that out here and say that I think, you guys are all here. I know some of you personally. I know some of you I've met and talked to. I feel like you're here. You're going to do what's best for the children. And maybe you've heard things we haven't. Maybe you've had emails from parents or students themselves. So I'm hopeful.
Thank you, Donna.
Fall on me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. My name is Samantha Wilcox. I'm a resident of Hope Valley. I'm the president of the Richmond Town Council, but I'm speaking on my own behalf. Just feel like I always have to give that disclosure. I was going to say something else this evening and ask the school committee to refocus on the aging elementary schools and the the very important things that you have in front of you. But after hearing all these stories, they're so inspiring, I've changed course. I support the majority of the speakers tonight. If you're angry or upset, want to protect the people, support freedom to read, or truly look out for all children all the time, I ask you to run for school committee in 2026. There will be 3 seats up in Hopkinton, 2 in Richmond, and 1 in Charlestown. You can do it. We need you. And clearly, 3 in Charlestown. 3 in Hopkinton.
3 in Charlestown, 2 in Richmond, 2 in Hopkinton.
And 2 in Hopkinton.
Excuse me, 3 in Hopkinton.
So more seats than I thought. One of them I won. Anyway, we will figure that out and back check it and get it back later so we don't make false statements. I just want to know you can do it, we need you, and clearly by the presence tonight, you'll be supported. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew McCoy. I'm a resident of Richmond. I've had kids and now grandkids.
Andrew, excuse me 1 second. Can you speak a little bit louder? Because I don't think people in the back can hear you, and I can barely hear you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Andrew McCoy. I'm a resident of Richmond. I've had kids and now grandkids going to the schools here. The reason we live in this town is because we like the schools here. But I'm concerned because there shouldn't be any reason for all of us to not teach respect for all. And LGBTQ is part of all, so we should respect them as well. And going back to what somebody else said about pronouns, pronouns are just part of respect. You're going to call somebody what they would like to be called. If your name is Robert and you want to be called Bob, then you call him Bob. But my original concern was the concept of any kind of book banning is something that is very repugnant to me. We shouldn't have ideas hidden before even being considered by our children. Societies that ban books, they wither and they rot and they die. Our community should resist that with everything that they can. We need to respect our next generation and make sure they can see everything that we've done, good or bad, in the past.
Thank you, sir. Okay, that's right, you said that earlier, sorry about that. Katie, is it Kabina? Katie? Okay, so we've got Katie, Joan Kent, Sarah Ornstein, and Jennifer Wood. Hi, Katie. So we've got probably about 10 more speakers, so I'm really going to hold you to 2 minutes, and I'm going to ask you to be concise. And we welcome your applause and your participation, but that just takes time away from the speakers. So I'm just going to ask you if you could hold your applause until the very end when they're finished with their remarks. I'd appreciate that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman, and members of the school board. Thank you for your service. I am standing with the majority of my colleagues who have spoken here today in support of upholding the strong protections that exist within Title IX. I am a resident of Charlestown. I have 2 boys in high school, and I love this district. This district has raised my children as well as I have, and the teachers and administrators have instilled in my kids the values that I hold dear, the values that the mission claims to uphold, of respect and kindness, and being open to difference. And so difference really wasn't ever an issue with my children. And when I told them that the Title IX was being threatened, I explained it to them. My older son is a junior and he plays on the soccer team and stuff and has friends from every single town. Said, I don't understand. The students don't care that there are students that may be different. Why do they care? Why are and our protections? And so he doesn't think about it very deeply, but what I did gather from that is that this is not an issue. Our children don't feel threatened. They very much feel like they're accepting their student body for whoever they may be. And isn't that the most American thing you can do, is to choose your own identity in this world? I think that is what liberty and freedom is. And so I think that that's something that we should consider. Our teachers here, I'm a 30-year in the education and youth development field. And what I will say is the teachers here, they have to do something called differentiated instruction. It's not easy. They have to teach every kid as an individual. And in that, they're seeing every kid as an individual. So to you and to the parents and to all the students, thank God they've been seen. Every student should be seen for who they are and respected for who they are. And I hope you will carry that forward in your policies. Thank you.
And then Sarah Ornstein's on deck, and then Jennifer Wood. So if you can come forward.
Joan Kent from Richmond.
Joan, right into the microphone. Thank you.
I just want to say that all children need protection, a good education, and we need to accept one another, respect everyone. If you respect people, people will respect you back. I believe that all children are God's children, and they deserve a life. And bullying has been going on for years, not just with the LGBT community, with the gay community, but just the average kid. And those things need to stop everywhere. God bless everyone. God bless all our children and the people in this community. I think we all want to reach a common goal to make life better and learning for our children. We try to get it and go through different ways of doing that. But respect is the most important thing that we can do for each other. Because all of you people work very hard to try to bring the best in this community. For not just the children, but everyone that's sitting here. So I thank you for listening. I thank all of you for listening to me. I appreciate
Ornstein, Jennifer Wood, Chris Fee.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am a Chariho graduate, and I have never been so proud as I am tonight. All these graduates speaking out so eloquently. I am also a resident of Charlestown. I chose to raise my own children here. And I am a librarian. And I'm here tonight because I'm concerned about the proposed revision of the library media policy. I'm concerned that it's about banning books. I've been watching what has happened in other school districts in Rhode Island and around the country, and where the scrutiny of what is in the library really comes down to censoring books, especially those with LGBTQ characters. And that should not happen in this district. We have excellent school media specialists here. We need to let them do their jobs. They work closely with students to help them select appropriate books. They purchase books that the students have asked for. They purchase books that have won awards and that have been well reviewed. And books that represent different viewpoints, because we do live in a community with families that have different viewpoints. When a book isn't right for your family, you don't have to borrow it or read it. But it is censorship to ask to have a book removed from the library so that no one else can read it. Please don't go down the road of infringing on our children's right to read or for their right to see themselves and their families represented in books.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Wood. I'm a licensed attorney and have practiced education law in Rhode Island for over 40 years, including 10 years as chief legal counsel at the State Department of Education. There's been a lot of discussion lately about whether presidential executive orders issued since January 20th require or compel school districts to revise policies that protect students from discrimination and that require a safe and inclusive learning environment for all students. I am here tonight to tell you that executive orders cannot compel policy changes for your district, and that federal and state laws and regulations that have not changed since January 20th prohibit you from reducing or eliminating anti-discrimination policies. These legally required policies support safe and inclusive schools for your students. A presidential executive order is an instruction to federal agencies as to how to manage their operations. Executive orders cannot change statutes or regulations. Only Congress, the General Assembly, or delegated agencies can do those things. Since the turn of this century, Rhode Island law has prohibited discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, second in the nation to do so, and very proud of that. The United States Supreme Court has recognized that discrimination on these same bases also violates federal law. You may hear that some federal courts have held that Title IX does not protect transgender students from discrimination. However, these rulings were in other states. It is the Federal Appeals Court in Boston that interprets these laws for Rhode Island. That court has ruled that transgender students are protected from unequal treatment, and the federal court in New Hampshire, which is in our appeals court district, has ruled that Title IX does protect transgender students from discrimination. These First Circuit interpretations of law are binding in Rhode Island unless and until the U.S. Supreme Court rules otherwise. In summary, federal and state law in 2025 protects transgender students, and State Board of Education regulations, which have the full force and effect of law in Rhode Island today, require that your policies reflect those protections. Please do not reconsider legally mandated policies that protect students from discrimination and harassment. They provide all of your students with a safe and inclusive learning environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Please make your way down to the front. Is Chris Fee here?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Hi, Chris Feed, Charlestown. As far as an executive mandate goes, it's clear that it won't fly. It's not legal, and I'm sure some people are going to still try to force it. What strikes me most about this attempt to deny the rights of people who are a little different than we are, it's disgraceful, quite frankly. I'm 70, so when I grew up, hopefully, there were no trans people. I get a little freaked out, no offense to anybody here, if I see two guys kissing, I'm not comfortable. But that's my problem. They're not hurting anybody. This is essentially church law. This is based by religious people who think they know who God is and nobody else does. All right? This is not a church. This is not your church. This is a public school where everybody is welcome, all faiths are welcome, all ideas are welcome. And to try to shut them off is about as un-American as I can think of. I'm not that great a patriot. All right?
Okay, that's tough to follow. Anyway, I just wanted to say, as a teacher, I support all of my students, including those who identify as transgender or however they identify. I've had several transgender students in my class. They were delightful, and the kids did not care. Nobody felt traumatized. Nobody felt afraid. The kids didn't care. It's only the adults who cared. And our Rhode Island Attorney General, as someone more eloquently than me stated, we have guidance that we are not supposed to touch these Title IX protections. So it is my recommendation that you don't make any changes. So I think I would like to end by recapping something that Mr. Ritchie used to say all the time. It was this: all kids, all the time. What's the next part? Anyone? No excuses. We don't all know that? Let's try it again. All kids, all the time, no excuses. Thank you. Thank you.
Catherine, you're next.
Am I next?
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Hi, everybody. As the former chair who served right before Ms. Dinsmore, I would like to thank you all for being here. This is incredible, and I hope we continue to see participation like this, because this is the first step in this battle. Please know that this will not end tonight. They will keep trying to get this rammed through. My mind has gone all over the place, but what I would urge you is to pause. You are going against the advice of your legal counsel, who keeps winning for you. You'd be going against the advice of the Attorney General. You'd be going against the advice of the Rhode Island Department of Education. And in case you're wondering, if they get rid of the Federal Department of Education, you will be bound by RIDE. You don't think you want to poke the bear. You've heard from people here tonight that your community does not want you to change these policies. You have made children afraid. I cannot believe that that is your goal. But if that was your goal, you have accomplished it. I talked to my student tonight and asked her, are kids talking about this? And she said, no, Mom, kids are talking about biology class. And they're talking about the Skills USA competition. And they're talking about the Italian homework. They're not worried about using the bathroom next to them. This is an adult manufactured problem. I filed several APRA requests, which I'm happy to share with you, to make sure that my own bias didn't cloud my judgment. And let me be clear, there have been no assaults perpetrated in a Chariho bathroom by transgender students. 0. But there were by boys. So maybe start the conversation with boys. You can't erase transgender students. You can't erase transgender people. They exist whether you understand them or not. All kids all the time means just that. Not the kids that you understand, not the kids that you like, it's all of them. That's your charge as school committee members. The fact that I've heard tonight that you're getting emails from constituents and not bothering to respond, that's cowardly governance. You owe them a response. Yeah. Finally, for those of you who are part of Moms for Liberty, I'm a mom too. Leave my kids alone.
I'm Helen Sheehan, I'm from Richmond. When I think about boys and girls playing sports together, I think it's fine up until 14 or 15. But after that, the physical differences are real. I don't believe it is safe for the girls after age 15 to be playing in sports with boys. To me, that is just keeping the children safe. As they get older, you see it more and more because the boys will win the competition by minutes or hours because they have musculature and just body structure that helps them. So I would like to save girls' sports. Starting at 15, up to that, they're about equal. The other issue is, I'm a licensed psychotherapist. What I know is that when children have questions about their identity, there are often many reasons why they have those questions. And their actual gender identity often is at the end of the list. When they have been sexually abused, abandoned, called worthless, stupid, ugly, when they have been in homes where there was sexual violence of them or family members, when they've been homeless. There are lots of things that interfere with how people feel about themselves. So I believe it's really important for the people working in the schools when a child says that, to not just jump to, okay, we should get her into a gender identity program. They should really be talking to someone who's listening to what is really
Thank you, Helen. Okay, Kate Kelly. Ronald Arlano. Justin Bales. Carol Hamill. And Carrie Carpo. And I think that is it for public comment. So Kate, you are next.
Good evening.
Good evening, Kate. Just speak right into that microphone, please.
My name is Kate Kelly. I'm a Richmond resident for over 20 years and a retired library media specialist who worked for the Chariho Middle School for approximately 20 years. I came tonight to support LGBTQ students and their families and to advocate for library media center policies that continue to support having a collection that meets the needs of all Chariho students, and in particular tonight, LGBTQ students. I am very concerned, given the record of the Moms for Liberty organization on banning books, particularly on topics pertaining to LGBTQ students.
Tell the truth.
Given the composition of the current school community, the needs of those students may not be addressed.
I speak the truth as I read it off the website today.
I know nothing, I knew nothing about Moms for Liberty.
What we're going to let her finish. Please
So-
hold your outbursts. Sorry, we're gonna hold our outbursts we have 5 more people. Let's get through this.
I knew nothing about Moms for Liberty last week, so I went to a primary source, the national site for the organization, to try to learn more about what they stood for. I have to say, I was somewhat horrified to read their whole section about critical race theory. Racism should not be whitewashed or minimized. The teaching of history should be based on actual fact. Racism and institutionalized racism have been part of American history, and it is only by teaching our students the truth that we will have a more compassionate future. Again, given the composition of the school committee, I fear for any curriculum related to history and race that they may be required to approve. Tonight, I stand for LGBTQ rights. I stand for diversity. I stand for inclusion and providing an education that respects all students who attend Chariho schools. Thank you.
Is Ronald here?
I am.
Hello, Ronald. Come on, right up. You have a Robert Kraft as your twin.
Hi, my name is Ron Arreglado. I live in Charlestown, and I was once a member of the Chariho School Committee, 6 years.
Thank you.
I commend you for the hard work. It is not an easy job. I don't think people realize the hours and the amount of time you have to spend in getting through very, very comprehensive and sometimes very, very troubling issues. I just want to personally thank Attorney Wood for giving an eloquent dissertation on the issue of federal law versus an executive order. Article 2 of the Constitution very clearly gives the President the authority to assure the faithful execution of laws. An executive order is a directive to the administration and the agencies to carry out faithfully the laws. Title IX is a law. It is not superseded by an executive order. What troubled me was this person that spoke threatened you with lawsuits. They are frivolous, and Attorney Woods expressed that. Do not be clouded by the rhetoric of people who are providing you with alternative facts. I want to be clear about something else within the Constitution. The co-founder of the Independence, the Declaration of Independence, in that document, there are 4 inalienable rights, 2 of which are the right to freedom of speech and the right of education. John Adams, as part of the mission statement of Moms of Liberty, said children should be educated and instructed in the principles of learning. I have 50 years in the business of education. I've seen it at the local, the state, and the national level. I traveled this country, and I saw many, many schools, urban, suburban, and rural, providing quality education, public education to students across this country. As a member of this school committee, I had the pleasure of working with the late Barry Ritchie, and like many of the people here stated, all the kids all the time, no excuses, is a mantra that took hold and made Chariho an extraordinary school district, devoid of any of this distractions of what children should be reading and what children should not be reading. That is the right of the parent. I look around this audience and I see people who are at least 18 years old or older who went to school in schools across this country, a lot of them here. I think you did okay. We didn't have bad books. Because part of learning is to develop critical skills, to discern right from wrong. What is something that is acceptable to you that is not acceptable to me? The gentleman that said, I may have a problem with 2 guys kissing. It's my problem, so he said. I think that we have to not get embroiled in this, what we think this is a conversation that is going to enhance learning. It's a distraction and it is a disservice to you, the children of this community, and the parents of this community. I strongly urge you to, as they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Title IX is a law, and I would be one of the first to sign any petition that threatens that sanctity of the law in support of what's going on.
Thanks, Ronald.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody's time. I know it's late, and I can't believe I got to follow up with Ronald. So I got a C- in public speaking when I was in school. You know, I guess what I would just like to say is that the idea of choice has always been incredibly important to me, and it's certainly something that I've taught my children. And to the point in which our family chose to send our daughter to Chariho through the CTE. Because we toured the school, we met the faculty, and everybody was wonderful. And I just want to thank everybody for all the work that they do that actually work at the school. And also, I don't understand why people think and feel what they do. And I try not to, because that's up to them. That's their choice. And what I'm asking of everybody that's on the school board is to respect my child's choice to be able to access information, to be able to contemplate ideas, and to be able to figure out who she is in this world. And that's her choice. And by limiting the access to information, right? By adults choosing what is relevant information in the library or in a classroom, it completely inhibits my kid's ability to learn and become her best self. And I do not think that if it ain't broke, don't fix it is a great terminology that Donald used. This is a wonderful school. You got great people that work here. And I would encourage you to just stay on track. And the fact that we're here at 9 o'clock at night and we're not even through public comments, you haven't even been able to vote on your budget. When I went to go pick my kid up from work and had to leave, there was 12 police officers in the school bus parking lot. Because that's what our discourse has become. And this is what we're teaching our kids, regardless of what side of the fence you're on. And this is not a political place. This is a place to do right by the kids and the faculty that work here. And that's your job, that's your goal. And I'm not asking anybody to believe what I believe. But I am just asking you, don't infringe my kid's right to information, to education, and to be the person that she wants to be. And to use whatever frickin' bathroom she wants. Because if that's where we're at and we can't vote on a budget because we're talking about bathrooms, like, come on.
Dr. Carol.
Okay. So Carol is not here, and our last speaker is Carrie Parko. You're up, Carrie.
Thank you, good evening, and thank you for being here. I have been a public librarian, an academic librarian, and a school librarian. I had to get a master's degree, actually, to become a librarian. And we have some rules that librarians use to choose books. And the first thing we do is we take a look at our community, and we then, I'm going to read you the 5 rules that are the foundation. We believe that books should be used. We believe that every reader has their book, and every book has their reader. We also want to save the time of the reader, and that the library is a growing organism. And that part, I think, is really important, because as the woman that came before me that put me in tears, that wants to donate the books to the library, that just speaks to the fact that information we should have access to that. And when my kids were in this school, I learned more from them because of the books that they brought home. And I think that if you take that away from the kids, you're also taking it away from their families, their parents, and their community. So we are professionals, and we make decisions based on the foundations that we were taught as educated professionals. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I wasn't able to sign up. Oh, I don't get to speak, okay. I know what's in
So would you be able to direct your comments to a specific policy when we get to the policy section of the agenda?
Yes and no. I would like to speak on something at this point that is not on tonight's agenda.
May we all speak?
You all spoke on something that is on tonight's agenda that should have been reserved to that point.
So can I just ask,
Was the material not available for you to sign up?
I followed the rule where you were to speak at Title IX during the time of Title IX, but everybody else spoke on the trans guidance during the open forum, which is why I can sign up.
So I'm gonna ask if you can sit tight until we get to that part of the agenda, and then I'd be happy to recognize you. Thank you.